At my son's marriage ceremony, in front of a couple hundred onlookers, he smacked me across the face because I wouldn't give him $1,000,000. He labeled me as selfish, but the truth is, he was the selfish and cruel one. Just a month earlier, when his father passed away, I pleaded with him to come home. He callously told me, "I'm busy with my girlfriend." That ache never faded. So when he disgraced me in that grand hall, I left in tears. But 30 minutes later, I made a crucial call. Two surprising individuals showed up, and what happened next completely ruined his big day. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from. I need your likes and comments to know you're following along with my story. I held Robert's hand until it felt like ice in mine. The doctor had already draped him, but I couldn't let go. Not yet. My throat felt like it was on fire as I whispered, "He's gone, Ethan. Your father's gone. Please come now." My fingers quivered as I sent the message, gazing at the screen, waiting for those little dots to appear. They never did. Just one brief reply, sharp as a blade. "I'm busy with my girlfriend. I can't come." I read it twice, thinking perhaps I had misunderstood, but the words were unchanged. Busy with his girlfriend. His father had just passed, and my son couldn't be bothered to be here. I yearned to scream, but no sound escaped me. Instead, I just sat there, gripping Robert's hand, my tears splashing onto the hospital sheet. By the time the nurses gently guided me away, I had no one to lean on. Ethan didn't walk through those doors. He didn't even call. When the funeral director handed me the paperwork, I signed every line on my own. "Do you have any family who will help with the preparations?" he asked softly. I shook my head, forcing a smile I didn't feel. "No, it's just me." The days blended together after that. I folded Robert's finest suit, the one he wore only during the holidays, and placed it carefully inside the casket. I slipped his wedding ring into his pocket, whispering, "Take a piece of me with you." Every small chore overwhelmed me, yet I did it alone. Neighbors approached my doorstep with casseroles and offered hushed condolences. "Where's Ethan?" one inquired, balancing a tray of lasagna in her hands. I gulped. "He's busy." That term had become a raw wound. Busy. Always busy, except when he required something. At night, I sat at the kitchen table surrounded by outstanding bills and the quietness of an empty house. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a call from my son, but all I saw was his existence displayed online. Pictures of him at elegant dinners, his arm around his girlfriend, grinning as if nothing had happened. Not a single trace of sorrow touched his face. The day of the memorial arrived. The chapel was filled with murmurs, songs, and the scent of lilies, but not a single sign of Ethan. People asked me gently if my son was delayed, if maybe he was held up at work. I nodded, pretending it was the truth, while deep down I knew he had chosen not to come. He had chosen her instead. I delivered the eulogy by myself, my voice wavering as I spoke of Robert's kindness, his love, the family we had built. I glanced once at the vacant pew where Ethan should have been, and my chest tightened so much I thought I would fall. After lowering Robert into the ground, I lingered, watching the soil cover the man who had been my partner for over 40 decades. I whispered, "I'll safeguard what we built. I promise." My phone vibrated in my handbag. For a brief second, hope flickered. Maybe Ethan finally cared, but when I took it out, it wasn't a call. It was a text, brief and cold. "I'll see you at the wedding." My hand trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. The wedding? He hadn't come to bury his father, but he expected me to watch him marry her? I stared at that message until the screen went dark. My tears dried into a fury I didn't realize I still possessed. For weeks, I begged my son to come stand with me and pay his respects to the man who raised him, and all I received in return was silence and then a wedding invitation. I pressed the phone against my chest, closing my eyes. "Robert," I whispered into the breeze that swept over the cemetery, "your son has changed, and I don't know if I can forgive him." The house was too quiet. Robert's chair still sat in the corner, his glasses folded neatly on the side table where he had left them. I had been staring at a stack of bills on the kitchen counter, attempting to comprehend the funeral expenses when the envelope showed up. Cream-colored paper, gold lettering, heavy in my hand. I tore it open, my breath catching, as I read the words, "Ethan and Claire invite you to celebrate their wedding." My chest felt tight. Less than a month after I had buried his father, my son was preparing to get married. I read the invitation again, thinking maybe I had misunderstood, but the words were clear. Just weeks. He hadn't shown up to the funeral, but he had planned this? I pressed the paper flat against the counter, whispering to myself, "How could you do this, Ethan? How could you?" When he finally answered my call, his voice was casual, almost cheerful. "Mom, you got the invitation, right?" "I did," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Ethan, it's too soon. Your father just—" He interrupted me. "Dad's gone, Mom. I can't stop living my life because of that. Claire and I want to start fresh. This wedding is important." My throat burned. "You didn't even come to his funeral. Do you know how that looked? Do you know how that felt?" He sighed impatiently. "I told you I was busy. You always make everything about feelings. Mom, you should be happy for me. Claire makes me happy." "Happy?" My voice broke. "Do you think your father would be proud of this? A wedding so soon after his death?" Silence. Then coldly, "Dad would want me to be happy. Stop making this about you." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles ached. "I buried your father alone. Alone, Ethan, do you grasp that?" He let out a sharp breath. "Look, I don't want to argue. Just be there, all right? It's my big day. Bring yourself and what we talked about." My stomach dropped. "What we talked about? What do you mean?" He lowered his voice. "The inheritance, Mom. You know it's mine eventually. Why not make it useful now? Claire and I need it. Think of it as your wedding present to us." I froze. "You're asking me for money? After everything?" "Not money," he said quickly. $1 million, the inheritance. You know you have it. Don't play dumb. Claire and I could use it for the honeymoon. Maybe even a down payment on a house. It's not like you'll need it all." My breath caught. $1 million? You think I'll just hand it over like cash in an envelope? He chuckled bitterly. "Why not? What are you saving it for? You're 67. You can't take it with you. Help us now when it truly matters." I couldn't even speak. My own son was telling me I was too old to need the life savings his father and I had worked decades for. My hand shook as I gripped the counter, staring at Robert's chair, hearing his words in my head. "Protect what we built." "Ethan," I whispered, my voice cracking, "your father worked his whole life for that. For us, for the family, not for greed. Not for this." His laugh was sharp, cruel. "It's called building a future. You wouldn't get it. Just be there, Mom. We'll discuss it then." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my chest tight, my hands trembling. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I noticed something on the back of the invitation, a note scribbled in Ethan's handwriting. Just 6 words, but they cut deeper than anything he had said aloud. "Bring the 1 million. We'll need it." I collapsed into the chair, clutching the paper, my tears flowing. My son had chosen money over his father, over me, over everything that mattered. And I realized with a shiver that the funeral had only been the beginning of my anguish. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, and I entered wearing the same plain dark gown I had worn to Robert's funeral. I had nothing else. Heads turned, whispers passed me, and I caught fragments. Tacky, simple, widow. Claire met me at the entrance, her smile sharp. "You made it," she said, scrutinizing me. Then her voice lowered. "Did you bring the funds?" My lips tightened. "I came to watch my son get married, not to finance your honeymoon." Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. "We'll see about that." The service was polished, rehearsed, extravagant. 200 guests applauded. The photographer's flash never stopped. and I sat in the back, unnoticed. I thought I would slip away quietly after the vows, but then Ethan's voice cut across the room. "Mom, come up here." My stomach dropped. All eyes followed me as I stood, my legs stiff, my palms clammy. When I reached the platform, he put his arm around my shoulder, his grin too wide. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is not just about Claire and me. It's about family, and my amazing mother is going to give us the greatest gift of all, $1 million for our honeymoon." The applause started before the words sunk in. Then silence. My chest felt hollow. I shook my head slowly. "Ethan, no, that's not true. I never agreed to this." His grin faltered. "Don't embarrass me. Just say yes." "I won't," I whispered. "Your father's money is not for this." The air grew tense. Claire's sneer flashed at the guests, as if she already owned me. Ethan's face darkened. "It's my right," he snarled. "You're old. You don't need it. Stop being selfish." Gasps rippled. I felt them like knives. My voice trembled. "I buried your father alone, and now you stand here calling me selfish in front of everyone?" He leaned closer, his breath hot with fury. "Give me the cash, Mom, now." I shook my head, my throat closing. "No." The slap landed before I could finish the word. My spectacles flew off, clattering across the marble floor. My cheek burned, but the silence hurt more. Not one guest moved. Not one voice was raised for me. 200 pairs of eyes stared, some looking away, some whispering, none standing up. Claire smoothed her gown, her lips curving. "She's dramatic," she said to the crowd. "Ignore her." I bent down, fumbling for my glasses, my hands trembling. My tears blurred the room, but through them I saw Ethan standing tall, chest out, as if striking me had proven his manhood. My son, my only child. I rose slowly, my body shaking, my dignity bleeding out with every stare. My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. "You will regret this." I turned, clutching my purse, and walked out. Behind me, laughter bubbled again. Music resumed as if nothing had happened, but in my chest, something shifted. Pain hardened into resolve. I reached the doors, stepped into the night air, and pulled my phone from my bag. My hands were still shaking when I pressed the number I had kept hidden. When the line clicked, my voice came out steady. "It's time. Meet me in 30 minutes. I sat in my car outside the grand hall, my cheeks still stinging from Ethan's hand. My spectacles were crooked, and I pushed them back onto my nose with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. The music inside thumped through the walls, laughter rising every so often as if my humiliation had already been forgotten. I whispered to myself, "He slapped me, my own son." I kept hearing it over and over, the sound echoing in my head, the sting cutting deeper into my chest than my skin. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through the years of messages between us, every demand for money, every excuse when I needed him, every unanswered call. The screen lit up with the truth of who he had become. And I finally admitted it. Robert had been right. We should have prepared for this day. My thumb hovered. Then I dialed the first number. A man's voice answered, calm, steady, waiting. "Is it time?" he asked. "Yes," I whispered, swallowing hard. "It's time. 30 minutes. The ballroom." He didn't hesitate. "I'll be there." I hung up and scrolled to the second contact. A woman's name I had kept hidden for years. My chest tightened as the phone rang. Once, twice, then her voice came, low but sharp. "Do you need me?" I closed my eyes. "Yes. Tonight. Now. You know where?" "Good," she said. "I was waiting for your call." When I hung up, my hands were steadier. I stared at the glowing numbers on the dashboard clock. 30 minutes. That was all it would take to turn this night on its head. I leaned back, hearing Robert's voice in my head the night we signed the papers. We have to protect the inheritance. Aurora, don't trust too easily. Not even with Ethan. One day you'll see why. I had brushed it off back then, believing a son would never betray his own mother. Now, sitting in that car with the bruise on my face, growing hotter by the second, I knew Robert had seen something I hadn't wanted to face. Inside the ballroom, the crowd cheered again. Toasts, music, the celebration of my disgrace. My son's life continued as if his betrayal meant nothing. I clenched my purse in my lap, my nails digging into the leather. For 67 years, I had carried myself quietly, patiently, always giving, always forgiving. But tonight the line had been crossed. Tonight he had made me into something else. The clock ticked louder in my mind with every passing second. My eyes fixed on the entrance to the parking lot, waiting. Then, in the distance, two headlights cut through the dark. They slowed, turned in, and rolled toward me. I gripped my phone tighter, my breath caught in my throat. They were here. The headlights I had been waiting for cut across the parking lot and stopped. My pulse quickened as two doors opened and they stepped out. Without a word, we walked back toward the glowing entrance of the ballroom together. I pushed the doors open, and the music faltered when people noticed us. Conversations dropped to whispers. The man straightened his tie and cleared his throat. "My name is Daniel," he said firmly, his voice carrying across the room. "And I have something to say before this farce continues." The crowd turned, all eyes shifting from him to the bride. Claire's face drained of color. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" she spat, her voice trembling. He smirked bitterly. "What am I doing here? I'm here because you're still my wife." A wave of gasps spread through the ballroom. Claire's hands flew to her chest, her eyes darting wildly. No, we divorced years ago." Daniel cut her off, pulling papers from his jacket. "Divorced? That's strange, Claire, because according to this, we are still illegally married. You never filed the papers. You lied to him, to all of them." Murmurs erupted, guests whispering, heads turning toward Ethan, who stood frozen, his face paling as he stared at his new bride. Before he could speak, the woman beside me stepped forward. Her heels clicked on the floor as she faced Ethan. "And I supposed you thought you were free too." Her voice was low, steady, dangerous. Ethan frowned. "Who the hell are you?" She looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm Anna, your wife. Or did you forget we never finalized our divorce?" Ethan's jaw dropped. "That's not true. You—" "Not true," she snapped, pulling out her own set of documents. "I have the proof. You married her while still tied to me. Do you realize what that means? Bigamy, fraud." The room erupted into chaos, guests whispering. Some stood, some grabbed their phones to record. A man in the corner muttered loudly, "This wedding is a sham." The photographer lowered his camera. The band stopped playing altogether. Ethan's face turned red as he pointed at me. "You did this. You brought them here." My heart raced, but I held my ground. "No, Ethan, you did this to yourself. Your lies caught up with you." Claire screamed, her voice cracking. "You ruined everything, you pathetic old woman. You planned this." She stomped toward me, her gown dragging across the floor. Gasps followed. Ethan shoved his chair back, his fists clenched, his eyes burning with rage. The guests didn't know where to look. At the bride whose marriage was a lie, at the groom who had just been exposed as still married, or at me, standing calmly in the chaos I had set into motion. And just as Claire reached for me, her face twisted with fury, I knew the worst wasn't over. Claire's shriek sliced through the room as she lunged at me, her gown trailing behind her like a storm. "You ruined everything!" she bellowed, her hands reaching for me. Gasps echoed around us, but no one stepped forward. I took a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. Ethan shoved his chair, sending it clattering across the marble, and charged forward. His face was red and distorted, his voice shaking with fury. "You did this, Mom. You brought them here to humiliate me." His fists clenched, his shoulders squared, and for a moment, I thought he would strike me again. I raised my hand, my voice cracking. "Ethan, stop. I'm your mother. Look at what you're doing. Look at who you've become." He let out a harsh, bitter laugh. "Mother, you stopped being my mother the moment you chose money over me. You care more about that inheritance than your own son." My hands trembled, but I forced my voice to be steady. "No, I cared enough to protect it from you, because you're not the boy I raised. You're a stranger standing in front of me, demanding and taking and destroying everything your father built." His eyes flicked to Anna and Daniel, then back to me. "They're liars, all of them. You think you're clever? You think this will stop me?" His chest heaved, his spit flying as he shouted, "You've embarrassed me for the last time." Claire was nearly on me now, her nails outstretched, her eyes wild. "You old witch! You won't ruin my life!" I braced myself, clutching my purse like a shield. The crowd stood frozen around us. Phones were raised, some guests filming, others backing away in fear, their whispers circling the room. "Call security," someone muttered, but no one moved. My heart hammered so hard I could barely breathe. I closed my eyes for a second, whispering Robert's name under my breath, praying for strength. When I opened them, Ethan's arm was drawn back, his face twisted with hatred, and Claire's scream rose higher as she lunged. Then it happened. The doors slammed open, crashing against the walls. "Police!" a voice bellowed. Officers flooded into the ballroom, their presence cutting through the chaos like lightning. The music stopped, the guests screamed, and for a moment, everything froze. Claire stumbled, turning toward them, her hands still half raised in fury. Ethan's face dropped, his bravado cracking. "What is this? Who called them?" he demanded, his voice shaking now. One officer pushed through the crowd, his voice sharp. "Ethan Miller and Claire Johnson, step back immediately. You are under investigation. Hands where we can see them." Claire's mouth opened in disbelief. "This is our wedding. You can't do this." She tried to push past, but an officer grabbed her wrists and snapped handcuffs around them. Her scream pierced the room. "No, this isn't happening. Not tonight." Ethan backed away, shaking his head violently. No, this is a mistake. I didn't do anything." He tried to shove the officer, but they pinned his arms, twisting them behind his back. The sound of metal cuffs locking echoed louder than the music ever had. Gasps, whispers, phones recording. It all blurred around me as I stood frozen, clutching my purse. My son, the boy I had once rocked to sleep, was being dragged across a ballroom floor in handcuffs on his wedding night. Claire thrashed against the officers, her veil tearing, her face twisted in rage. "You planned this! You set us up!" Ethan locked eyes with me as they pulled him toward the doors. His voice was low, broken, almost pleading. "Mom, how could you—" I pressed my trembling hand against my chest, trying to steady my breathing. The officers guided them both out as the guests parted, silent, their eyes wide with shock, phones filming every second. Then one officer turned to me, his expression firm. He stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Ma'am, we need to speak privately. It concerns your inheritance." My breath caught in my throat, and I felt the room tilt around me. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper and nerves, and I sat there with a folder on my lap, my hands clutching it so tightly that the edges bent. My lawyer leaned closer and whispered, "Stay calm. You're prepared." I nodded, though inside my stomach twisted. When the judge entered, the room rose. Ethan sat just a few feet away from me, his suit wrinkled, his face drawn, but still defiant. He glanced at me and smirked as if he had already won. The judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Miller, please state your claim."
Ethan shot to his feet. It's simple, Your Honor. My mother is withholding money that rightfully belongs to me, my father's inheritance. $1 million. She's hoarding it, and I deserve it. I'm his son. It's mine. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Miller. I stood slowly, my knees aching, my hands trembling as I held my folder. My voice cracked at first, but I steadied it. Your Honor, my husband and I planned carefully. This inheritance is legally protected. It is in my name, in a trust, with clear documents proving ownership. My son has no legal claim to it. My husband made sure of that before he passed. Ethan slammed his fist under the table. She's lying. She's twisting everything so she can keep it all. My father would have wanted me to have it. I clenched the folder tighter. Your father wanted it safe, Ethan. Safe from greed. He trusted me to protect it. The judge raised a hand. Mr. Miller, sit down. We will look at the documents. Ethan glared at me, his voice low but venomous. You're pathetic, Mom. You think you're clever. This isn't over. My lawyer handed the documents forward. Every signature, every date, every line showed what Robert had prepared years ago. The judge read carefully, then looked up. It's clear the inheritance belongs solely to Mrs. Miller. Case dismissed.
The words hit me like a release of air I had been holding for months. I closed my eyes for a moment, whispering silently, Robert, we did it. It's safe. But when I opened them, Ethan's face was red, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. He stormed past me, his shoulder brushing mine, his whisper sharp in my ear. You won today, but you'll regret this, Mom. I froze, my body rigid, watching his back as he pushed through the courthouse doors. For a moment, relief filled me. Justice was on my side. But his words clung to me, heavy and threatening. I thought the storm had finally passed, but I was wrong. The scandal didn't fade. It spread. Everywhere I went, people whispered. At the grocery store, I caught two women near the produce aisle staring at me before one leaned closer to the other and murmured, That's her, the one whose son slapped her at his wedding. Their eyes softened when they realized I had heard. For the first time, I wasn't just pitied. I was respected, almost admired, because I had survived something most couldn't imagine. Still, hearing it spoken aloud twisted in my chest. My son had become a public example of disgrace. News articles surfaced, videos of the slap replayed online. Clips of him being dragged away in handcuffs circulated everywhere. I saw headlines, groom arrested on wedding night, family fortune dispute ends in chaos. I never searched for them, but they found me. The shame should have belonged only to him, yet it followed me too. My phone rang one afternoon, an old friend. Aurora, I don't know what to say, she whispered. I saw the video. I'm so sorry. I forced a small laugh. Don't be. I didn't create that mess. He did. Days later, I overheard neighbors speaking outside my window. He's lost his job, one said. And Claire left him, packed her things and vanished, the other added. Greed eats people alive. Their words sank deep into me. He had chosen her, chosen money, chosen everything except the family that had raised him. And now, one by one, it was slipping from his hands. I passed by the post office bulletin board and saw his name scrawled in a public eviction notice. My heart clenched, remembering the boy who once cried when he scraped his knee, the boy who used to beg me to stay by his bed at night. And now that same name was attached to debt, lawsuits, and humiliation. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. There was nothing left inside me to weep with. At the market, a man stopped me. Ma'am, he said gently, what your son did was unforgivable, but you showed strength. I nodded, though my throat tightened. I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow.
My mind kept circling the same truth. I had lost Robert to death and Ethan to greed. Both were gone from me in different ways. But when I lay awake at night staring at the ceiling, I also remembered Robert's words, "Protect what we built." And I realized maybe this was the cost. I hadn't just saved the inheritance, I had saved my dignity. Ethan had chosen his path, and though it broke me, I was learning to accept it. Just as I thought I could finally breathe again, I opened my mailbox one morning and froze. There it was, an envelope with Ethan's handwriting on the front. My chest tightened as I carried it to the kitchen table. For a long time, I just stared at it, my fingers trembling, my heart pounding against my ribs. Finally, I tore it open and unfolded the letter. His words rushed at me, uneven, desperate. "Mom, please, I've lost everything. Claire's gone. I have no home, no job, no money. I'm sick. I need you. Please don't turn your back on me. Help me. I'm still your son." I read it once, then again, my vision blurring with tears I didn't want to shed. I whispered into the empty room, "Still my son? Where were you when your father lay dying? Where were you when I begged you to come? Where were you when you slapped me in front of hundreds, demanding money like I owed you?" My hands shook as I pressed the letter flat against the table. Memories flooded me. The hospital, the funeral, the wedding, the courtroom. Every moment when he could have chosen love, he had chosen greed. I picked up the phone, considering calling him, but my hand froze in midair. What would I say? That I forgave him? That I'd give him one more chance? I lowered the phone slowly. "No," I whispered, "not this time." My heart ached with the weight of it, but deep down, I knew the truth. Saving him again would only destroy me. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in the drawer beside Robert's wedding ring. I laid my palm on the wood as if speaking to my husband through it. "I love him, Robert. God knows I do. But love doesn't mean I let him keep breaking me." Instead of writing a reply, I opened another folder, the one with the foundation papers. The lawyer had drawn it up weeks ago at my request. Funds set aside, protected, untouchable, to help women like me, women whose families tried to strip them bare. I signed the last page with steady hands. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. The house was silent, only the tick of the clock keeping me company. I sat back, my fingers lingering in the drawer where Ethan's letter rested. My voice came out as barely a whisper. "This is the last time I save you." And with that, I let the silence close around me, heavy, final, and unbroken. If you enjoyed this story, please make sure to like and share this video with your family. Also, comment below if you've ever faced something like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming stories like this.